Detroit don't move easy.
Yeah.
Like, it take a lot for us to spend money, and we're charging $75 to come to Creative Con for 2 days. Selling a $75 ticket is not easy.
It's not easy.
No.
I know. Like selling tickets, period.
Yeah.
Like people
That's why you know how many free events.
People don't realize.
People do so many free events in Detroit because we refuse to pay money.
Yeah,
but don't let it be an event in Houston or an event in Vegas.
Yeah.
We'll go late on our mortgage payment and miss our light bill on an event in a different place.
What do you think it is?
Corporations. Like when I work with big corporations, Detroit is circle. It's like general marketing plan for the rest of the world, and then it's like the plan for Detroit.
Everybody, it's Brooke Jones, aka the Millennial Agent.
Hey guys, it's your girl Tyra Nicole.
Hey everybody, I am Nicole Pay,
And you are watching the RPR podcast.
I don't do the most, but I do a lot. I'ma make a toast, cause we still alive. No big, I feel like pop. I shoot a shot.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Realest People in Real Estate podcast, where we talk about the real shit, not about real estate. I'm one of your hosts, Brooke Jones, aka the Millennial Agent.
What's up, guys? It's your girl Tyra Nicole.
Hey everybody, I am Nicole Pay, and today at the RPR podcast, we are doing things a little bit different. So we have our team -1. Why are you laughing at me already?
Because he didn't say his.
It's all good.
Oh shit! Because I introduced you.
Yes, yeah. Let's go.
You know
Go-
what?
go
Don't
with the
come
flow.
in here and start
I
messing
did not
shit
say
up.
one word.
Mr.
wanted to be
Producer, you can
introduced.
go.
Did I say
sit.
anything?
No, but you laughed. So, see, he was just
I didn't
cussing me
say a
out in his head. Anyways, we're doing things a little bit different today because our producer, one of them, is sitting at the table with us. Robert Courtney is here joining us. Was that introduction good enough?
That introduction was amazing.
Thank you for that
Yeah.
marvelous introduction.
Marvelous introduction, people.
Look at show like number 60, what? 6? 5?
Oh,
It don't even matter.
61.
Look how polished. Like,
62.
you all have become so polished. Like, you need to go back and watch episode 1.
I don't want to.
We have.
We haven't. That's
Oh
why
my
we choose
goodness.
not to anymore.
It was absolutely horrible.
We have
We've come a long
elevated the game.
way. Okay, well, anyways,
sure.
you totally just debacled my intro.
It's all good.
I always introduce you are our
Well,
guest today.
Authenticity
First
is
of
the
all-
most
Yeah.
important thing.
What?
Kudos to you.
Why?
Because you didn't even ask how he wanted to be introduced, anything like that. You were just able to
Hey, you see what I'm saying?
Right. It was that shot.
It was that
That's what
shot
I'm
of
talking
tequila
about.
before we started.
Man, that
just
deserved like a round of applause.
no practice or nothing.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Rob.
Thank you. Show
Right into it.
65
Creator
have come
of
around.
Creator Con, Robert
Yeah.
Courtney LLC.
I mean, there are so many accolades. Like, do we even need to get into them?
No, I'm just
No.
I'm pretending to be you, like
Oh,
rehearsing in your.
oh, rehearsing in my
your,
head.
Yeah, your lower voice.
When I say it out loud.
Robert.
All right, so
Owner of Robert
let's get to
Courtney.
it because now we're here.
We got lots to talk
we have
about.
so much to talk about. But first, we are going to talk about where the podcast is going.
We have a special announcement.
Special announcement. Next year, we have we're decided to take the podcast in a different direction.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
this, I don't know if I can explain as well because I understand where we're going, but we are literally opening the floor to anybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like anybody. Do you
Not
hear
just
that?
real estate.
Not just real estate agents. If you want to be a guest on this podcast, we are opening the floor and allowing you to come in and tell your story.
Yeah.
And we want everyone to know that it's still the realest people in real estate podcast. It's just that we are the realest people. In real
Yes.
estate. So we've had
about
come
real
to the
shit.
conclusion
Yeah.
that
We
we're
felt-
the realest people in real estate.
Yeah, we felt like we were niching down too much, and there are a lot of great people out there that have really, really, really good stories, and we wanted to bring them on the podcast, but they weren't involved in real estate, and we kept, debating on whether we should allow them on, and it just felt right to kind of open up the podcast.
We're opening
And,
the
I mean, you guys are 2 years in.
Whew.
You developed an incredible niche. We've interviewed so many great people that is in the real estate space. And
Yeah.
so I think it's a good time
Yeah.
to make that switch.
I agree. So we're
Yeah.
opening the doors to anyone if you're
Anybody.
interested.
And we have So a lot of people will message the Instagram and they will ask if they can be on the podcast. And I always message back and say, you can go in the link tree and you can book an appointment. So I'm going to say that on the podcast now. If you are interested in coming on the podcast, just go to our link tree on our Instagram, RPR Podcast. Once you hit the link, it will say, come on the podcast. And then it will bring you to a calendar and you can book which day you want to come on.
Right directly through the link. You can book on the calendar. So with that being said,
I'm like a guinea pig.
Why?
Because I'm not necessarily in real estate. And I'm getting interviewed right now. And you just
but you've been on interviews before. You've been on the show
like
plenty of times. Come on.
They practice on me.
We practice
on
you.
But I want to say, too, we want to let people know, too, that we are like a safe space. Yeah. So we're really inviting people to come on and share your story. And you don't, like we said, you don't necessarily have to be in real estate, but a lot of people have a story to tell. So we want everyone to come on and feel safe here and tell your story. So,
yeah. All right. Well, we're going to get to interviewing our amazing guest today.
Thank you.
So really quick, let's plug CreatorCon. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
This is the third annual CreatorCon. It has now turned from a 1-day event to a 2-day event. If you guys have not been there, this is probably one of the most epic things I think I've ever been involved in. The vibe, the atmosphere, the people. I don't think you can, number one, put a price tag on the knowledge that you get, but just the aura of everything involved. So tell us a little bit about your vision. Where did it come from? And
hard to believe it's 3 years.
3 years.
I know. Time flies. So CreatorCon is becoming like, CreatorCon is taking over, and I'm trying to slow it down. Like, it is moving so fast. I'm trying to like pump the brakes on it because I want to be super strategic and intentional about how it grows. The idea came from our unique position in just branding and social media in general. And so with RCA, we work in every industry that you can possibly think of. And we actually get excited about new industries. The main industries are probably real estate, hospitality. We came from fashion, like my background is fashion. And then tech is a huge thing in Detroit. We're probably leading the nation right now when it comes to tech. Black Tech Saturdays just got $1.2 million.
Shout out to them.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Amazing.
But I mean, they've earned it. Like, they have created a culture with the tech movement that we've never seen before also. And it started with like a few people who getting together on Saturdays having conversations around just innovating the Detroit landscape around tech. So because of these experiences, the one thing that we noticed was no one plays outside of their box. It's like, I'm going to go out with real estate agents and that's it. I'm going to talk to other people in hospitality and that's it. And so for us though, it was like, do you realize like this person over in tech can really help you over in real estate? You have to just go outside of your box, like go to a tech networking event instead of all real estate networking events.
Right. Yeah.
And so that was kind of like what started the dialogue around this idea. And then I started like researching events. Every event is categorized and segmented to a specific industry. If you are a person in this industry, this is the right event for you. Nobody ever does events where it overlaps different industries. And so that was kind of like the original thought. And what it's grown into has been aspiring creators in these different spaces who needs additional support around growing and scaling their business. So an example of that is a videographer who is doing really well, but he's using hustler mentality to build his business. And when I say hustler mentality, it's like me as an original barber, your husband would relate to this. Fast cash, spend fast, right? Like, we're getting money every single day, but before we get home, we've spent half of it, you know? And so it's like you get the money and you take care of what you need to take care of. There's no systematic formula. There's no business account. There's no business credit.
Correct.
There's no framework around how do you leverage the money coming in to build a sustainable business that continues to grow. And so now we're way beyond just putting people together. We're in a place where let's impact people in real life. Like, let's give these individuals come to this conference all the tools, all the resources to take their business to the next level, all the people who have the experience and the knowledge to take their business to the next level, and you might have a conversation with a person who gives you a dream opportunity and it completely changes your life, which happened like there's like 5 testimonials of that situation. So
and I think too, like, one thing that we really, really hone in on the podcast is that this is a safe space. And I will say with CreatorCon, I feel like that as well, because you have people coming in and they're vulnerable because they're starting a business, they don't know where to start. And you have people on the panel who are established business owners, but they are so warm and welcoming to these people who have put themselves out there, like, hey, I want to start a business. This is what I'm doing. What do I do? And it's another safe space that has been created for people to come in, hence CreatorCon, for people to come in and share their visions and stuff like that and not be intimidated by the outside world.
Absolutely. I mean, the last thing I'll say about it is that creator, from our viewpoint, is, when I say our, when I think about the agency and RCA and everything we do, a creator is simply someone who needs to create content, information, and put it on these platforms in order to exist. And so that is probably 90% of the world. Like, if you're operating a business and you don't create, you probably don't exist. It's become what is necessary. So that creator,
no one knows about you.
No one knows about you, right? Exactly. So that creator term applies in the traditional sense of real content creators, photographers, videographers, musicians, etc. And now it has a newer, more modern definition of anyone who creates information or content to put on social media platforms to grow their business, also falls under the creator definition.
That's awesome. So it's been plastered all over social media, but let's put the logistics out there. 15th and 16th.
November 15th.
15th and 16th.
November 15th every year.
15th and 16th, Cambria Hotel. Can people still get tickets?
Absolutely.
Where are they at?
The tickets are at CreatorConDetroit.com, and if you're watching this, you can use the discount code Friday, and you can save a couple dollars.
Hey.
So that might not be there that long. You better go do it right now.
Better go do it. So. All right, I'm so excited for CreatorCon. I'm pumped for CreatorCon.
I'm excited too.
Dame Dash.
I know, Dame Dash.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about
we didn't even talk about that. How could you miss that? Dame Dash is going to be the keynote speaker.
Yeah. How did you go about getting Dame Dash? Like, how did you reach out to
that
him?
conversation go?
I know.
How about I had a 15-minute conversation with Dame on the phone?
Yeah.
Ain't that kind of crazy?
On the phone.
It's exactly how you think he is.
What picture him?
Cocky?
Super cocky. Like the first thing he said was, "Did you watch my movie Prince of Detroit?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I checked out the trailer. He's like, "No, you didn't. Quit lying." I was like, actually, I checked out like 5 seconds of the trailer, but I did really look at like a couple seconds. But no,
and you didn't go and watch it after that?
I have.
I was gonna say, because he's gonna ask you again.
Oh yeah.
I'm over. Like, you should see my bathroom wall. Like, it's just full of Dame Dash questions. I'm so ready for this conversation.
You just had something come out in the news today. Like, when I opened my Instagram, it was something he said about 50 Cent or something like that.
Oh gosh.
But I think it's old. It's probably like an old clip.
It just popped up on my Instagram today.
Him and 50 Cent had like a little back and forth because 50 said he was broke.
Oh yeah, I remember when 50 said that.
Yeah. So
do you have your questions ready for him already? Or?
I have several questions, and the way I plan for speaking events, fireside chats, everything is that I don't know what I'm gonna say, but I have so many different questions ready. So depending on the vibe, the energy of the conversation.
Oh my gosh! Did you hear me laugh?
Yeah.
I totally laughed because I'm like,
to go into something and not know what you're going to say.
Well, no, see, there's a difference though. See, like, just freestyling and going there with no plan, that's irresponsible.
But that works for you, though.
Yeah.
You have it all in your head.
Exactly.
Just not
I looked at like 15, 16 different questions for the last 2 weeks in my bathroom. Yeah, no. If you get so this is what happens. If you get so laser focused and you've practiced the same 5 questions in your head for like a month, and these are the questions I'm going to ask, and he says something that derails you or asks you a question, you can't recover. Yeah, now you're like,
true. I probably would sound like that too.
yeah. And then you gotta be like, I'm so sorry, I prepared, and you said that, and it just turned into a whole nervous
conversation.
Yeah,
so have you been just like watching YouTube videos of Dame Dash like every day?
He put out so much content.
Yeah,
and here's
he does
the thing.
put out a lot.
I've been a huge Dame Dash and Jay-Z fan for the last 30 years.
Oh, so that
helps. Like it's all like there's so many things I've always wondered.
Yeah.
The only thing is like it can't be about Rob. So the reason the preparation has to happen is because I need to make sure that he's bringing value to the audience. You know, so that's really what
I do know about Dame Dash is, from what I've gathered, because I've watched a lot of his content and stuff like that, it's like what he say goes. Like he's very passionate about stuff, which I can relate. And it's like if he says something, that's what it is. Like
it's a gift and a curse. Like the reason
is it more like black and white? Is that what you mean? Like
he's
black
very
and white?
black and white as well.
Right or wrong, like he's gonna stand on what he believes for the good or the bad. Like because he believed in himself so much, he made millions and millions and helped other people make millions. And I'm sure because he believed in what he said so much, he's also lost millions and millions. So it's, you know, it's who he is as a person. And I think like you can only respect that. You know, so
I do respect
authenticity. Is that the word?
So can you tell us some of the other speakers that you'll have on there, and then also like what can they expect when they walk through the doors?
So far as other speakers, there's a lot of celebrities actually. We have Nicole Hoops, who a lot of people know, the first real reality star.
What was she on?
Flavor of Love.
Flavor of Love. I remember that show actually.
She was probably one of the first people to like really blow up from doing a reality show.
That's how she got
paid a lot. She got paid a lot of money when reality people wasn't getting paid money. And she could hoop for real. Like that was the other part. Like Hoops is probably
she dated Shaq
no
too,
exaggeration. She was a fiance.
She dated Shaq.
That was they were engaged.
Oh, they were engaged.
They were engaged. Legit, probably the most athletic woman I've ever seen up close in my life. Like, not exaggerating. Like right now, she will do 5 or 6 backflips in a row and finish with like a somersault. Like, I'm not joking. Like right now, she'll do it. So we got Hoops, Josh Alexander, who is a big YouTuber. You know him very well, but him and I don't know if his wife Savannah will like join him, but they have like 800,000 followers.
What does he specialize in, like on YouTube?
He's just a YouTuber. He has a history of like music and performing, and he like traveled and toured when he was younger. And then like his wife was a model and did a whole bunch of stuff for brands and stuff like that.
No, you're wrong. She was not a model.
She wasn't a model?
Look, I've been watching them on YouTube for a really long time. She was a professional dancer.
Model
not model.
Dancer.
And then he
same thing.
Did
no,
I'm just playing.
It's not.
He did film, I think, for the longest time, like editing stuff. But he also was like a pastor's son. Oh, okay. So he was very involved in the church.
Yeah. Their success has come from YouTube, though.
Wow.
Like
yeah, they're really big on YouTube.
But what do they do?
A lot of family vlogging.
Family stuff. Like family lifestyle, vlogging,
Okay.
podcasting. They interview a lot of other podcasters.
Okay.
So Josh Alexander, and then a lot of
Randy Rosario Maples too.
Randy
will be there.
Randy will be there. She'll be teaching a podcast workshop. But every segment of this show, this is probably something I should definitely mention. Every segment is very strategically chosen with people who are actively working at a high level in that space. You know, so when you think about hospitality, when you think about tech, like Black Tech Saturday, Alexis and Johnny, like they handpicked the people. I don't know enough about tech. Our team doesn't know about enough about tech to go and say, you are the people in tech that should be speaking at CreatorCon. So we consult with the people who are leading in that space to say, who do you think is doing the most innovative things right now that we should definitely have on the stage? And so they make their recommendations. And that's kind of how I try to handle all the segments. We've put submission forms on the website. The first year was me just leaning on my friends and my network, but like that came with a lot of pushback and people felt some type of way. And so I quickly recognized like, okay, we got to change this process up because it's not based on my opinion anymore. Like I'm really disconnected from the selection process as much as possible until we get down to like the top 4 or 5 people that we're thinking about having. So yeah, I think we have a well-rounded and there's a lot more, prepare for a lot more entertainment. Like last year was just
entertainment in the first year.
Do we have like a entertainment part, like a singer or a rapper or something?
I'm not even saying like you gotta like listen. You gotta be in your seat.
We do
6 o'clock. Be in your seat.
You've put it out there, haven't you?
Not specifically.
Oh, okay. We'll
She
tell you after.
That'll be after hours, but we're not on live.
We do now. We can say we have a fashion show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We had that last year.
Is that what you're talking
We
about?
didn't have a fashion show last year.
Yeah.
No, there was no fashion show.
It was a fashion demonstration. Like there was
we missed
models.
it, remember?
I know we missed it, but I thought they were down there doing a fashion show.
Yeah, no, it was just a panel. It was a segment on fashion. And then we had brands on display, but just models.
Fashion show.
This year, it's like an actual runway.
Amazing
fashion show.
Yeah, and I'm not missing it.
So because we will be in the podcast playground
last year.
Yeah.
I know we'll have to figure out our time in the podcast playground because we will be. Are we going live? Are we going to be live or are we recording for the podcast? I don't think.
Know.
Have we decided
yet?
I think we're decided, but we will be there.
Talk about that.
So.
Right, but you didn't answer my question.
Sorry. The last. I know what you were about to say.
No. My
when
question.
People walk in.
About what?
Oh, well, that, but also, like, you didn't answer the question. Like, how'd you get a hold of Dame Dash?
Oh, so,
he says
he had his people call his people.
Yeah, his people. My people call his people.
I don't know if the plug want me to give away her information, but there was a
connection. You can say there was a connection.
So that's how you get a hold of everybody that's part of CreatorCon. Like, how do you get these people to come get booked?
So honestly, Dame Dash wasn't the first choice. The first choice was LaRussell. And LaRussell, if you know LaRussell, you understand, like, he is the epitome of what a creator is. LaRussell is like he's really big on the West Coast. He has a really big fan base. He does incredible music. He's a rapper, but he's taken and revolutionized the way people make money from music and being creative. And he set up like opportunities for people to get shares and stocks through his music to help launch their own businesses and their own brand. So like he has this creator motto like figured out. So I've been reaching out to his camp since probably May or June, and they hit back and they were ready to do it. Like they were excited as I was about the opportunity to come to Michigan, because I feel like he wants to expand his fan base. And that was locked in, and the rate was incredible because he's also one of those people, like, I feel like I identify with him because his energy is like, I want everybody to win. And so he was like, if you got any idea, just give me a number. Like, I might say yes. If you call me, you'll spend $1,000. I might say yes. Just send it. Yeah. So I sent like a random number, and I was like, there's no way they're gonna hit me back and say yes. They said yes, and so he was the plan. And then I got an email from them at like 5 a.m., which was probably 2 o'clock our time. No, I'm sorry, 5 a.m. So it was 8 o'clock our time. And he said they got the only thing that would change it was if he got booked for a show on the date that I wanted to have him. Oh, okay. And he would keep the date up until 30 days before. And that was the deal for the price. And I couldn't be mad at it because the price was crazy low. So when that happened, I was kind of like, I don't want to say I was stressing a little bit, but it was like, I don't want to just pick any celebrity and pay any amount of money. Like whoever the main person is needs to identify with what the premise of CreatorCon is.
Right.
And I feel like Dame Dash was a good second option.
And I think it's a great choice.
Yeah, definitely.
So only thing about Dame is like, I feel like he's more my generation, like our generation. And this conference is leaning more to like a younger, more millennial, Gen Z audience. And so it's kind of 50-50, but I want to lean more to that because like they're next, right?
Yeah.
So who is somebody that you would really, really love to have at CreatorCon eventually?
Besides Larusso?
Yeah. Like
your definition of like,
I was saying Jay-Z doesn't count because I'm...
Yeah, no.
If anybody, you could pick anybody.
But it's more of creators because it's CreatorCon.
I feel like I don't have like a set person in my mind. I feel like a lot of people could potentially be that person.
Name
but
off,
like if I could have anybody, like I would pick like Drake or like, you know, like somebody that's gonna make CreatorCon just be crazy overnight. You know, like I mean, you want. One thing you have to factor in is who will people actually get out of their house to come and see. And especially in Detroit, because Detroit don't move easy. Like it take a lot for us to spend money, and we're charging $75 to come to CreatorCon for 2 days. Like selling a $75 ticket is not easy.
It's not easy. No. I know. Like selling tickets, period. Like people
that's why you know how many free events.
People don't realize.
People do so many free events in Detroit because we refuse to pay money.
It's hard to sell a ticket.
But don't let it be an event in Houston or an event in Vegas or it's like we'll go. We'll go late on our mortgage payment and miss our light bill on an event in a different place. But when
to go see Usher in Vegas.
But I think people have to realize like what you're gonna get from it. You know, you have to take in like you're getting information from someone or from people who've become successful.
Like
this is how.
What do you
think it is? Do you think it's because they feel like, you know, you're just the same as them because we're all from Michigan, Detroit?
They're just cheap and don't want to spend the money and don't realize. It's true. Like they don't realize.
I don't know if it's just cheap, but there's so many. That's one of the things.
It's cheap.
There's so many moving parts. I mean, this isn't just like people who throw parties or nightlife or like networking events. Corporations, like when I work with big corporations, Detroit is circle. It's like general marketing plan for the rest of the world, and then it's like the plan for Detroit.
And there's Detroit.
It's like a special plan.
Yes, they have to come with a special plan because we don't respond to what other markets respond to, and we're the black. Like this is no knock on anything or anybody. Detroit is the blackest city in America, like by the numbers. That means something. Like we think differently. Like we operate differently. Our buying behavior is different than the rest of the country. So from that perspective, you have to take those things into consideration. And me going into CreatorCon, in my mind, I said I'm going to lose for 2 or 3 years. Like I realized I'm going to give a $25 ticket away that's probably valued at $100 because I have to over deliver and give people an experience that they're craving, so that when I slowly creep this price back up, no one will bat an eye because I've gave you so much for the first 3 years of the conference. And so like I went into it with that expectation. And the crazy thing is the first year, 1 media interview, 1 sponsor. Shout out to Christy Zambis. Like I'm being super transparent. And that was a lot of people on the flyer. Like a lot of people supported in different ways, but who actually paid money. And fast forward to today, like there's like 8 who paid like
that's awesome.
Like sponsored for real. And we have 6 media interviews lined up this month on legit.
Well, you already did the one. You did that. Was it Fox 2?
We did Fox 2.
Fox 2.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, I'll say all that stuff to say, like, you have to realize that anything that you're passionate about and like you know where, like, I already see, like, I see us in Little Caesars Arena. Like, I see us in a stadium on a stage with a arena full of people. Like, I already know that's happening. So
or people flying in from other states.
When you know the potential of it, it's like, I'll lose for 3 years because for the next 7 after that, like, we about to knock it out the park. So like, what's 3 years of sacrifice for that type of success? So
that's awesome. It's going to be an epic event, and I can't wait for it. And it's kind of funny because I I hopped on the live real quick to see, and I see Will Pay is commenting, and I'm kind of waiting on you.
Where are you? You're part of the reason we're stalling.
We're stalling because of you, Will Pay. But in all hindsight, I guess we'll go ahead and segue. Will Pay, who is our other producer that's behind the scene. Oh, Kristen put Chrissy Zambos is yes, she is. She's absolutely amazing. But Will Pay is one of our producers behind the scene, and he actually is not here yet. He was coming late because he is coaching football for the Woodhaven Warrior Elite, and I just want to give a really quick shout out to the Woodhaven Warrior Elite. They are playing in the championship Peanut Bowl this weekend against all teams Romulus.
Yeah.
Romulus. So
shout out to Romtown.
Yeah, it's
where you guys all graduated from.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's a little bit of a rival there because Will was there too. So it's going to be an awesome game. But we were kind of stalling because we were waiting for Will, and I was going to segue because I think what everyone's waiting for is a conversation that we have. But Melvindale High School is where the game's going to be. So if you guys have nothing to do on Saturday, come support us. Woodhaven Warrior Elite.
Yes.
What time's the game?
When is that?
So it's a city league for Woodhaven. It's the DJFL City League, and it's at it's not at Melvindale High School. It's at their old stadium. It's at Cardinal Stadium.
I will say Woodhaven Elite is probably the best ran program organization that we've ever been a part of. Like, Bob is the blueprint for legit putting together an organization.
I mean, they're all amazing. Like, the board's awesome. The board, there's a lot of dedicated people. We're new to the program. There's a lot of dedicated people in the program. And it's a very well established program. So to be in the Peanut Bowl, this is the head coach, Danny Hill's last season. Danny's leaving after this season. So
shout out to Danny. Danny organized Ashley's fundraiser through Woodhaven Elite. Yeah, they raised $5,000 for
I remember I was there.
Ashley,
we were there at the game, but
I remember that.
and that was before we were even a part of the organization, but we were at that game. So
Robbie did 4 seasons with the Elite.
Yeah.
Well, 1 season was COVID.
And then go figure. Robbie is gone and Will's coaching. But but no, he's coaching, and so all 3 teams of Woodhaven Warrior Elite made it to the Peanut Bowl.
Yeah.
Freshman, JV, and varsity, and they're all playing Romulus.
Woodhaven Elite is actually a big part of my story too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hopefully a positive
let's talk about that.
I know, let's talk about the games are at 11, 2, and 5 p.m. So if you guys have time, please make it out there. But I don't even know where I know the story. Like, I will say this.
I don't even know the story.
I know the story.
Do you need a refill?
I know. Do you want a refill before we get started on this? Do we need to do a refill break?
You can start.
And this is while you're refilling Rob, because give him a refill because he probably needs it. But I'm going to say this.
Or a shot.
Right. On a personal note.
They don't want me to have a shot.
But you can't take your jacket off this time. So, on a personal note, like, we've all known you for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And you are a social media marketing company owner. Like, you own, and I know you personally as far as there are stuff that you put on social media and there's stuff in your life that you keep private.
Right.
And there's a very, very distinct line between the two. And I know that. And I think everyone in this room knows that.
Right.
For you to put this on social media, it's a pretty freaking big deal.
It is a big deal.
Like, there was a bear that was poked that I don't know if I've ever seen.
I'll just say this really quick. It's a big deal if you put personal stuff on social media and if he answers the phone.
Yes.
2 things. That is valid, Tyra. Sometimes you're even lucky to get a text back. Or calls you, or text.
Yeah,
because Rob calls me, and what did I do? I think the one time he called me, I texted him back, and I'm like, "What's wrong?
Yeah, see?
Is everything okay?"
If you want to make sure people always answer your phone calls, don't ever
answer. There's a call.
It's a trick.
But I do know for you to, again, everyone in this room, and Will Pay, if you're watching, like, we've waited on you and you're bypassed. So if you come walking in the door, you'll be mic'd up. But you don't put stuff like this out there. So
there's been one other time.
But it has to be
situation.
But it has to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah. That was definitely
like so I don't know where to start.
Yeah, I can start.
So I'm gonna just let you start.
Yeah.
Well, for the people that don't know what we're talking about, maybe we should just give them kind of
like a summary. Yeah, that's true.
So context, there's a lot of context, but I'll start here. So I've been coaching at Woodhaven High School for 3 years. Like, this would have been my 4th year as a Woodhaven JV basketball coach. Context to that is I've coached since 2013. I started off coaching at Trenton High School, also a JV basketball coach, and very much by design. Like, I choose to be a JV basketball coach because I'm running a pretty sizable company with a lot of moving parts. I'm putting on events like Creator Con. I'm raising a couple kids, you know. For me, JV gives me an opportunity to really, really pour into kids, perform my job well, but then also have time to do the other things that I need. And so I have done that for the last 11, 12 years with no aspiration to go into a varsity head coaching scenario.
You were where you wanted to be.
I was exactly where I wanted to be. And I've made that very clear in all the places that I've been very transparent. Like, this is 1000% a learning experience. I started in 2013 only because I knew I had a son that would play basketball eventually, and most coaches who play basketball, like, in our minds, like, if you play college basketball, like, you just feel you can just walk out there and be a great coach, and it's unrealistic. It's like, you just because you're a good player, it doesn't mean that you will be a good basketball coach. And I think that translates across all sports. Like, I don't think it's just basketball. But my outlook was, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to learn how to be a good coach. I'm going to learn what the environment looks like. Having a conversation with a 14-year-old or 15-year-old and getting them to buy in and listen isn't like talking to your teammates when you're 25, 30, you know, like, it's a different dialogue. So all those things were things that I thought about. And you guys know, like, I'm very, very methodical. Like, there's nothing that I do that I haven't put hours of thought into. As a matter of fact, this situation that we're discussing, this happened in June. Like, this started in May, June. You didn't see anything on social media about it until like a month ago. Like, it just got to social media. Yeah. And the reason for that is, we were just talking about this earlier, like, I wear this Whoop, and you guys, if you're close to me, you know I talk about the Whoop all the time.
All the time. It's ridiculous.
This Whoop allows me to look at the stress levels.
You should become a sponsor.
I know, right?
I am. I will. I will. I believe in the Whoop. I am passionate
right
about
now.
the Whoop.
He's becoming a sponsor.
The reason the Whoop is important because now I have the data to show you how calm I am in real life. How I am never stressed. If I pull up my Whoop data for the last month, it will show you my stress levels are consistently lower than average, or lower than the average person. And there's not things that really get me like worked up in most cases. And so, if you don't have a Whoop, like, you should get a Whoop. It gives you real data.
Shout out to Whoop.
Shout out to Whoop.
But wait, you didn't. Moral of the story was you got let go, right?
Yes, but the context has to be laid.
Yeah, so let's talk about that.
Told.
I just want to tell them what happened, because they're like, what's going on here?
Let's start from the beginning.
I don't know.
Tell us.
Can you start from the beginning?
Yeah, that's the beginning.
That's where you feel
that's the beginning.
We should start.
Yeah. So the beginning of the story is that I was let go from Woodhaven in September. But when I got let go, that's not the issue. Me getting let go isn't the issue. It's how I was let go, and it's the process that happened is everything that transpired prior to me being let go. Like, that's the problem. And that's why it's such a big deal. And that's why this conversation is happening, because this isn't just Woodhaven. Like, this is a very consistent pattern that happens across a lot of schools. A lot of people deal with it. And it's normally when a couple people are in cahoots together and there is no accountability in the system to prevent these type of things from happening. The problem is that most people don't have a platform, or they don't have the energy or the time to push back against it. So they just say, you know what, I didn't need to be there anyway. And that's kind of my outlook. Like, I will turn this situation into the best possible situation, right? Like, I got laid off from jobs, I got fired from jobs. Like, I've had really bad things happen to me, right? This isn't the worst thing that's ever happened. The thing is, the reason that I'm talking about this one so much is because it's kids involved. Like, there's literal parents out there who are sending their kids to be under the guidance of people who don't care. Like, they don't have the kids' best interests at heart. So for me, it's like, if this isn't talked about, then I am not talking about it, knowing that people are uneducated and have no idea that this type of stuff is happening. If I didn't say a word, the rhetoric would have been, Rob decided to quit and leave, or he decided to not coach us, or he was too busy with all the other stuff that he has going on, when the reality is Rob really didn't have enough time to be a JV basketball coach. And Rob sacrificed his kids' time all the time, his business time all the time, to make sure that I was there on a regular basis to provide what I needed to provide. And now, because of the way that this was handled, the narrative, if I don't say anything, becomes he was too busy and he decided to do something different.
And again, like, I know a big part of the story, but I think you need to start back to that initial meeting.
Yeah.
Because you were completely unaware that there was even an issue, because there really wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
But then an issue was created to become an issue.
Yeah.
So I think going back to that point, because let's be real, you left Trenton to come to Woodhaven. I mean, even on your I know a lot of Trenton people.
Right.
My son's girlfriend graduated from Trenton, so I know a ton of Trenton people. There were Trenton people commenting on your status that you post about that, commenting about how great of a coach you were at Trenton and how sad they were that you left Trenton to go to Woodhaven for this to ultimately happen.
Right.
So I think starting at that point, because don't you also hold the title or like the record for the most wins on the JV team, or aren't you one of the highest?
I would probably say yes, but I don't have like official.
Yeah. So I thought we had talked about that you're like the record that you had held as the JV coach was one that was
really good seasons.
You had really great seasons, yeah. So I think starting at the point of where you found out there was an issue is really monumental to start there.
Or when did the problem start?
Yeah. Okay.
What happened?
Okay. So here's the story. Here's the beginning of the story. But I do gotta say one more thing for context. One more thing. I tried on multiple occasions to try to find a solution to this entire thing. Like, not like 3, 4, like 8, 9, 10 times trying to have conversations to try to figure out some way that we can resolve or come to an understanding of why this was handled the way it's handled. So it's here, and this conversation is here because no one would, like, still today, I have no reason like why it happened. Okay, so that's the last piece of context. So here it is. So in 2021 is a crazy year, right? Everything's happening with Ashley. She ended up, passing away or what have you. And Robbie was in Woodhaven Elite. And during that time, I wasn't even sure if I was going back to Trenton I was thinking about taking a summer off or a year off because I wanted to kind of get my head clear. And during that time, the powers that be at Woodhaven would see me at Woodhaven Elite every day. And every day the conversation would be, you should come over to Woodhaven. Like, you and Mike, my assistant, should come over to Woodhaven. We can do some great things. We can really use a person like you. Like, just really selling me the entire house and the garage and the dream and everything.
Real quick, Woodhaven and Woodhaven Elite.
So Woodhaven Elite is the football program that she was explaining. Robbie played football, so we're in football season.
Okay. So it's the city league that's affiliated with the city of Woodhaven. They don't have a direct, correct me if I'm wrong, a direct affiliation with the Woodhaven Brownstown School District.
Right, okay. Separate,
but
completely separate.
Right, but it's under the DJFM.
So it's outside of the school district.
Correct.
Okay.
So they use Woodhaven facilities. Woodhaven Warriors is the name.
Woodhaven.
So it's Woodhaven Warrior Elite is the name of the team,
right?
Or the organization.
The
I'm
organization.
sorry.
The organization. It's like a parent-ran organization.
All volunteer based.
Like I said, all volunteer based, and Bob does a phenomenal job.
He does.
Excuse me. So we would be there with our kids playing football prior to the season, and I was being recruited.
So is this person, because I don't know who this person, you've never actually came out and said the name of this person, but this person,
I won't say his name.
No, I'm not asking you to, but his child was also playing football?
Well, I'm sure he's watching. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He was, our kids were both playing on the same team.
Okay. Because I didn't know if he was coming just specifically to talk to you, or if he was there
Probably.
because
It's likely.
there's that.
It's likely. There was no coach there. The other coaches had left too, probably because of the similar situations.
Okay.
But the dialogue was basically, I make the decisions, and we have to go through the formal process, but they'll pick who I want, and I took that in that scenario, like, wow, like, that's interesting. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's your program. You should be able to have a lot of influence on who's selected, right? So,
and once again, this is Woodhaven.
Yeah, this is Woodhaven High School.
Woodhaven High School. Woodhaven High School. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, so I decided to go. I in my mind, it was like, this makes a lot of sense because my kids go to Woodhaven. The whole reason I started coaching was so that I could coach Robbie eventually.
You bought a house in Woodhaven.
I ended up buying, I was also, trying to find a new home, and I was looking at a lot of different cities for that. And it's like, if I'm gonna go coach in Woodhaven, I get a house in Woodhaven, I'm right down the street.
Yeah.
Like, all these major life decisions was kind of being predicated on a lot of things that was happening at that moment. But Trenton was perfect. Like, shout out to Jay. Like, Jay was so flexible. I showed up, I won games. The kids were like super disciplined. The community was really good to me. And so leaving Trenton was a big deal. Like,
so why did you decide to go to Woodhaven as opposed to staying at Trenton and moving to Trenton School District?
I don't know. I shouldn't have.
Well, if you in the big picture,
you're right.
Like, in the big picture, like, his kid, your children were coming up. It's kind of like how even Will decided to go. I mean, go back and coach. Like, Will has no stake in the game. Like, he doesn't have, his daughters are cheerleaders. Like, he has no stake in the game. But he decided to be a part of the affiliation because he wanted to be there. And I can't speak for you, but being a parent within the district when your children are coming up, like, it holds a lot of impact.
100%.
So your kids were already in Woodhaven School District while you were working at Trenton. Okay,
Correct.
Well, that's a big piece of it then.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. And listen, you don't make money coaching. Like, for anybody out there that doesn't know, my check would be like $2,000. Right, and that.
But you have to put it
for a month.
You have to put in perspective for the entire season.
For the season, so
and when does the season start? When does the season end? Because that's the other thing. Like, you have to put that in perspective. Like,
if you took the time, like, the season starts in usually like November. The time with the kids usually start like, if you're not including summer work, the time usually starts in October, end of September. So you're going from end of September all the way until March. And you're getting $2,000.
You're talking about like four or 5 days a
Yes.
week. Yes.
Why would anybody be a coach?
Well, so you have to have a love
Because
for it.
it's the love of the game.
Yeah.
It's the passion of
It's
even.
not about my point.
I'll
Is
live that much.
yeah, exactly.
Brooke's like, I'm out. Don't sign
Exactly.
me up for
Yeah,
coaching.
it's like-
That's the point of bringing that up.
And
Like the
that's-
money doesn't matter.
And that's
It's not
the
what
thing I
you're
was
doing.
gonna say
Yeah,
is
it's
like
not the- what
when
it's
you
for.
are a coach, like even for Will and I both coaching within the DGFL, like it does take a lot of time away from your family. It takes, luckily my children were in the program, but it does take a lot of your personal time. So you ultimately do it because you are making an impact on these kids. You
Kids,
are
yeah.
making an impact within your community.
100%.
And that becomes full circle for the money that you're not making being a person doing it.
There's nothing that comes close to me being at LA Fitness and then seeing like a kid that graduated from Trenton that's come back home from college and him coming up to me and saying, you were the biggest inspiration for me. Like the reason that I'm in college is because of how you coach.
William says that all the time.
There's nothing that compares to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the time at the Woodhaven Elite practices was kind of like the big influence that pushed me to say, okay, I think this is the right move to make, and I decided to do it. And I ended up having probably a 2-3 hour conversation with Jay. Jay was 100% on board, 100% like understood, like, yes, like I think that makes sense, like, and in addition to that, on the outside looking in, Woodhaven has the best facility. Like their gym is like a college gym. Like people come to our gym and they're like, oh my God, like this is just the best place I've ever seen for a high school varsity gymnasium.
I mean, their whole like everything they build, like
everything is just pristine.
It is.
And
very well planned.
In addition to that, Woodhaven consistently wins the Downriver League, right? So that's all those things were factors in terms of the decision that I made to go there. So I made the decision to go. 2021, I coach, great season. We go 17-3, I believe, which if you're judging by record is a pretty good record, right? And I'm using the fingers because that matters.
Fingers.
And then the next year, the next season, I have another great season. I think I go 15-5, if I'm not mistaken. And through these years, there's no problems. Not only are there no problems, I shouldn't say to my knowledge, there's no problems.
There were problems.
And the only thing that I can base that on is that there was never a conversation with me that there was any issues. And so if you work a job and you come to the job and you do your job every day and you have a supervisor and you work for an entire year and that supervisor never comes and says to you, hey, you need to improve this, or
Let's
hey,
talk about this.
you need to change that, or hey, let's talk about you getting to work a couple minutes late all the time. Like, if that supervisor never says anything to you, what are you going to think about the job that you're doing?
Everything's
Pretty
going
good.
okay.
You're going to
Everything's
think
good.
everything is fine.
Everything's
So,
kosher.
yes. So I went through the first year, never one time was there a conversation. Second year, never one time was there a conversation. Went through the third year. Now my third year was from a performance standpoint, my third year was my rockiest. It's honestly, besides my first season in Trenton, my third year was probably the overall lowest talent that I've ever had, like collectively. The talent was so low that I ended up bringing up 4 freshmen. And then mid-season I brought up a 5th freshman. And so if you know anything about sports, you know, like
you have to explain that.
Yeah. So typically as a JV coach, you're only going to bring up freshmen, or even if you're a varsity coach, and coaches out there will understand this, if you bring up a younger player, it's because you
you're missing something.
You're missing something, but you only bring them up if you can guarantee they're going to actually play.
Yeah.
Like play. Like not even perform.
Not perform, like play.
If you don't feel like you can get them X amount of minutes in the game, then you're doing them a disservice by bringing them up. So
That's
you
true.
want to make sure that they're actually on the court and they're actually playing. So I bring up 5 freshmen because my talent was that bad. And so in my mind, it was like, I'm going to struggle really bad. But because I understand how to flip a negative into a positive, my thought process was, I'll be bad this year to run the table next year.
Because those same freshmen will now be so you've already, I don't want to say molded them, but they're already ready to play. They already know how you coach.
Correct.
So come JV, their sophomore year,
they're gonna be ready to go.
They're gonna be ready
horses. To go. And it worked to a charm. Like I had one kid on my team, Lucas, by far my best player, by far the most learning curve that happened over that year was him. He got so good to where we started off 0-7, and then Lucas it clicked. Next thing you know, we won like 5 games straight, kind of based on his growth from that point. But he got hurt, which kind of sucked. But anyway, my point in bringing all that up was like that was my rockiest year because the talent just wasn't there. So when the season was all said and done, we were like 11-11 or 11-10 or something like that. But still, even with that, never one time was there any conversations like, hey, you should change this, or hey, you should do that different.
Or what happened?
This is the third year.
This is the third year, right? And so there was incidents, right? Like there was incidents throughout the season. There's one specifically that I think is important where one of the freshmen who I brought up on the team, we decided that maybe we should put him back down on freshman because he wasn't developing as fast as I thought he would. And I thought maybe he could use some more time. Now, this was me bringing this to the attention of the rest of the coaches. And when I say coaches, meaning like the varsity coaches and the freshman coaches. We came together, and this was my suggestion in that conversation. We didn't have coaches meetings. We didn't talk. So we ended up having a meeting for some other stuff that's also important, but we'll save it for a different conversation. And I bring that up. We decide to do it. The next week, the player who I'm talking about has an incredible game. Like he has his best game of the year. So in my mind, I'm like, the decision was made to tell him that he was going down to freshman after that particular game. Then he goes out there and he has a great game. So I'm like, man, I don't want to bust his bubble.
Yeah.
So I made a decision to wait and tell him like a couple of days later. Well, I never told him. Now this is my fault. Like this was my error. I never told him after that game, and I ended up leaving to go on vacation with you guys to Florida.
Blame him.
I mean, you don't have nothing to do with it, but that's the trip.
That
was a trip.
That was our Florida trip.
We went out of town, and while I'm on the trip, I get a text that the player had been told that he was going to freshman by another coach. And I'm like, why would you do that?
Right.
So from my standpoint, it was like me putting myself in the shoes of a player and thinking like, you brought me up.
Damn.
And then you won't even tell me that you're sending me back down. Like you making
you didn't say anything about this in Florida. It wasn't even talks about or anything.
This is the first time I heard this.
We were all in Florida.
Because I'm not going to not talk about the things that I know the other parties would be like, well, he didn't say this or he didn't say that.
Right.
Because there's a lot of context to even those things.
Yeah.
So like this happens.
And you're accepting the accountability for it.
I'm literally in Florida on the in front of the pool, texting and finding out that my player just got told. And I mean, like, these relationships aren't just like. Like she just said, you know, who would do that for $2,000 over that amount of time? Like these kids are like Robbie. Like I have like really
Relationships.
like passionate encounters with them where like I'm a dad, I'm yelling at them, I'm a coach, but
It's
then I'm
so
giving
funny
them
that you
life
said that.
advice and
Yeah.
they're like asking me, so it's like there's like an actual bond there.
A relationship,
right?
yeah.
If you don't have that type of bond with like your kids and you're just coaching them to get it over with and go home,
Then you're in it
then
for
you
the
don't
wrong
feel
reasons.
you
Yeah.
don't right like you can't relate to my passion when I say, why would you tell my player without me there?
Was
Like,
it
you don't
decided?
understand it.
Was it decided like who would tell? Was it decided
No.
that you would tell?
Well, yes, it was decided that I would tell him after that game.
Okay,
So
so
then you didn't tell him, so
And I
then they
didn't
felt
you
like.
are- He already
that's,
knew?
But that's also a confidence killer. Like, this kid went out and had a great game. He's a young, impressionable, 14-year-old? Had the best game that he's had.
13-year-old.
13-year-old. And then you're like, oh, hey, by the way,
Right.
great
Yeah.
game, but you're going back. You
That
don't,
was
as
so,
you
so, and
coach.
so that's where I'm saying that
Yeah.
my lack of my error was that I didn't communicate with the other coaches that I
didn't
decided
tell.
not to
Yeah.
tell him.
So they
this particular-
probably thought you told him
No.
something slipped up.
He says no.
No. So Mike
that
was
one.
there, and Mike told them that I didn't tell him yet.
Yeah.
And then they were like,
Who's
"Well, let's go."
Mike?
Mike was my assistant coach.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they were like, "Well, let's go get him and tell him right now."
Oh, shit.
And I mean, Mike is my assistant. Like, what can he say? So
Yeah.
like, okay, well, they went out, they got him, they pulled him out of practice. They
After
told